Welcome back to Grace Walk Farm. It's been a busy couple of weeks and a lot has changed in the garden. So come along with me and let me give you a little garden tour. I think you're going to be surprised at how much it's changed since I showed you a few weeks ago. So the front garden has gotten big and beautiful. I mean, it has really filled in. The tunnel is starting to fill up with climbing plants. The corn is tasseling. It's an exciting time. So let me show you exactly what we have planted. A lot of you ask for me to tell you the specific varieties that I'm growing and to get a little more specific. So this may be a longer garden tour, but I got lots to show you and tell you about today. So we'll start right here with the corn. We are growing Country Gentleman corn, and this is sort of a petite variety. It's not going to get as tall as something like a Silver Queen, but it's a perfect variety for like a backyard farm situation. And so we just planted a small block of corn. We're probably growing, I don't know, maybe 12 to 15 corn plants. Not many, just enough for some fresh eating this summer, which will be fun. But there should always be a little corn in the garden, you know? Like, it's just a fun addition. It's beautiful to look at. And fresh corn is like nothing you've ever tasted. Right next to the corn, we're growing our summer squash. This year, I decided to go for a hybrid variety. We've always done heirlooms, and what I'm learning is sometimes hybrids are better if you're dealing with a lot of pest pressure. And we deal terribly with squash vine borers and squash bugs here. So I went for hybrids this year and it has really paid off. We've already harvested probably 40 or 50 yellow summer squash, like crookneck squash and the golden grillers and patty pan squash. So our squash is doing really well this year. We're not having as many pest problems as we usually do. And I think we're doing a couple of things differently that have helped. Let me show you. So you'll notice we planted our squash at the edge of the garden where it's kind of far away from a lot of the other pest-loving things. And this has worked to our advantage because healthier plants tend to not draw as many pests. And since they're not hanging out in this area, there's just not a lot of bug pressure here. They've done quite well. The only issue we've had is just a little bit of disease and fungus, as you can tell. And this is just from a lot of rain. So what I need to do is come in here and just trim off the leaves that look bad. About once a week I will come in here and just trim them up, clean out anything that doesn't look great. But you can tell we've got some squash here that are ready to harvest and looking really great. And so it's been an abundant summer for squash already, and this tends to be one that I don't always have great success with. So very pleased with how this is going. And you can see, you can just remove these extra leaves if they're kind of in the way so that you've got good airflow in there. And we'll go ahead and harvest this guy and take him in with us. We'll cook him for dinner tonight. Now let's go take a look at the tunnel and talk about what we've got growing on the tunnel of love. So the first thing we're growing out here is watermelon, and it is doing so well on this trellis. It has almost reached the top from both sides, and we have tons of melons already filling in and hanging here. There's one, here's another one. They're getting fairly heavy, so what we will do is we're going to build some hammocks. And let me know if you want me to do this with you. I can make a video and show you how we're going to build it. But we're going to create hammocks to kind of support the extra weight of these guys so that they don't break and they can continue developing fully without breaking while they hang from the trellis. And I love this because it's keeping our melons off the ground so the bugs aren't getting to them and we're not getting any rotten spots. We're not losing any melons to senseless problems because we're getting them up off the ground. 10 out of 10 recommend growing your melons on a trellis. So we're growing two different kinds of watermelon out here. We're growing a crimson sweet, which is just a regular red watermelon. And then we're also growing a yellow watermelon, which I thought would just be something fun and new this year. But I'm also growing Cucamelons. And I have tried and failed with Cucamelons multiple times. They're really hard to get them going, but once they get going, they will spread and cover and do really well. Well, this year, my persistence paid off because we have Cucamelons. So if you have never grown a Cucamelon before, here's a really tiny one developing. It's sort of a mix between a cucumber and a melon. So they stay pretty small. I mean, they never really get bigger than about my pinky nail. And these make really cool pickles. I mean, you can do lots with them. And as you can tell, it likes to climb. So it's doing a good job climbing the trellis here. And lots of tiny fruits everywhere. So I'm excited to be able to start harvesting some little Cucamelons soon. The next thing we have on the tunnel is cucumbers, and we have a lot of cucumbers growing. So we're growing some Boston pickling cucumbers, but we're also growing white cucumbers, and then these really pretty Katrina cucumbers. I've been really pleased with these. These are the most prolific, and they're all perfect. I mean, none of them have bad spots. They're just beautiful, and they're making the best pickles this year. We have already made a ton of pickles, and actually I have a video planned for you where we're going to make pickles 3 different ways. We're going to can pickles, we're going to make refrigerator pickles, and we're going to make fermented pickles, and then we're going to taste test and decide which is the best method to make a really good pickle at home. So stay tuned. That video will be coming soon as we continue to harvest cucumbers. But the cucumbers have been generous this summer. If you're growing them, tell me how your cucumbers are this year. Is it a good year? I feel like growing cucumbers is very hit or miss in our weather. Once it gets really hot, they tend to struggle here. But we've had probably our best cucumber season ever. So cheers to that. Here's one of those white cucumbers that I mentioned we are growing. So this is a really popular variety here where I live. Like, the local people ask us constantly for these. So we actually started growing them for our customers, and we really love them. They have a really nice, mild, sweet flavor. They make good pickles, but they're also just good to eat raw or to have on a sandwich, like a good cucumber and tomato sandwich. So white cucumbers, give these a try. Well worth it. We're also growing some butternut squash on the trellis, and you can tell we're starting to get some little squash filling in down low. So this plant is still climbing, and we're trying to train it up, but we're starting to get some squash developing, and so this will be a nice one because butternut stores really well and we can eat on it over the winter time. So that's one of the reasons that I grow butternut every single year. Now I wanted to give you this view of the garden because down there is the corn and the squash that I showed you earlier. And you'll notice we put in a whole row here of marigolds. This is for pest control, and this may also be what has helped us with the squash bug issue this year. By having so many of them, it really seems to have helped. And then in this area right here, we have pepper plants. And so you can tell the grass is being a little hard to get along with. We need to do some weeding. But the peppers are looking pretty good this year. These are jalapenos right here. Lots of pretty peppers to come. Sam is excited. All right, now let's talk tomatoes. The tomato garden is doing pretty well this year. So we rotated our tomatoes to the front garden, whereas we have grown them in the back garden for 5 years now. So this year we decided to try some crop rotation to help us with the blight issues that we've had for a few years, and it seems to have worked. We have not seen any blight so far this year. The only issue we've really had was we had a couple weeks of heavy rains and we had a little yellowing, but that has worked itself out and things look pretty healthy. So let me show you some of the tomato varieties we're growing this year. So these are Dr. Witchy tomatoes, which is one of my favorite varieties. It's an heirloom, and these will be yellow, and they get really, really big. So Dr. Witchy is one heirloom variety that I will always grow in my garden. This one's a little cat-faced, which just means a couple of the blossoms stuck together, but it's still okay. Will still be good to eat. And lots of little tomatoes all over this plant, and it's still blooming great at the top. So feeling pretty good about our Dr. Witchies this year. These are called Black Beauties, and this is another heirloom. And you know that these are ready when the bottoms turn from green to red. But these are called Black Beauties. Next up, this is a pineapple tomato, and you can tell how big this thing is. It's still growing, but these get huge and they are so sweet. They are sort of a yellowish red tomato, one of the sweetest tomatoes you will ever eat. They do tend to get the cat-faced blossoms in the beginning, but usually after the first couple develop, that stops. So when I catch them early enough, I will pinch those off, but since it's already that developed, I'm just gonna leave it. But yeah, this one is the pineapple tomato. Next up, we have another heirloom variety, and this is called the accordion tomato, and you can tell it's got this kind of funky folded look to it. These will get pretty big. I mean, these are very small still, but these will be orange when they're ready to harvest. And I just think they're so pretty. Like, it's such a delicate, almost looks like a little pumpkin or something. So yeah, the orange accordion tomato. And I got these seeds from Baker Creek. Now you'll notice all the way down the side of the tomatoes, we have sunflowers planted. And then here along the edge, there's actually okra coming up. It's still a little spread out. We didn't have great germination this year because my dogs were running through here so much. But we do have a few okras that have come up down there, and we're going to fill in the bare spots and plant some more. But the sunflowers are getting tall, and they're so pretty, and those should bring in lots of pollinators to help our tomatoes. So this whole row of tomatoes is sort of a classic. These are German Johnsons, and maybe you have grown these before yourself, but they are just so pretty. They grow in these clusters and they get pretty big. This one's starting to blush, but these have been really prolific. I mean, there's a lot of fruit on this plant. We need to tie it up where it has fallen, but lots of tomatoes growing on here. All right, this is our staple slicer tomato, and the vast majority of our tomato plants are this variety. This is a classic beefsteak tomato. I bought these seeds also from Baker Creek. It is an heirloom, but you can tell, I mean, it gets big, and these are the sweetest tomatoes, you guys. So the classic beefsteak is one that you really can't go wrong on. Here's another one of the classic beefsteaks. Oh, I'm so excited, guys. This makes the best tomato sandwich in the entire world. Seriously, the best tomato you'll ever eat is the classic beefsteak. Now, this variety is called the Big Beef. This one is from Grow House, and it's sort of their take on the classic beefsteak. So I'm growing this one to compare. This is a hybrid variety, and I do notice a little more pest resistance on this one. It seems to be really standing up well to the weather and stuff, but they are smaller than the classic beefsteaks, at least so far. But we'll see how they go, and I'll keep you updated. They are very pretty and very healthy, but they are just a good bit smaller than the classic beefsteak. So this is another whole row of classic beef steaks, the one I just showed you earlier. And there's just tons of them. I mean, these plants are just loaded. There's tomatoes everywhere you look. These are our tomatillos, and they're doing really well. There's tons and tons of them. Lots and lots of tomatillos developing. So I'm excited to try to make salsa verde with these this year for the first time. And then we have our paste tomatoes. These are the ones that I use to make tomato sauce, salsa, ketchup, all the things. And look, you're with me for the magic moment where we harvest the first one. This is a Shelby tomato, and these are great because they don't have a ton of seeds in them. They're super meaty, and I got these from Grow House. So check out the Shelby variety if you're looking for a good paste tomato.
Today I'm doing one of the jobs that most of us despise doing. I'm in the middle of the heat because it's summertime and that's what you have to deal with. And so we're just going to keep rolling with it. Today we're dealing with weeds. And if you look back behind me here, you'll see that we've got several piles. And down here at the end of the tunnel, there's one pile that was, at one point it was about 3 feet tall. So we're in the process of cleaning out beds. We've got several beds here that are empty that you can see where we've cleaned out, and there's some back here behind me as well. There's some over in this area that we're cleaning out. We're transitioning really out of the summer garden, and we're actually headed into a fall garden. And I know it's July. It's 93 degrees today here in North Carolina where I'm at, and it's probably hot where you are as well. And fall might seem like the furthest thing from your mind, but it's actually, now is the best time to be preparing for your fall garden, because if you're going to start seeds, they're going to need time to get established and to start growing. And if you wait until, say, the end of August, not only are you going to be a month late, but you're going to be too late. Amber and I are so bad about doing that. We'll start our seeds for fall maybe the second, third, or the fourth week of August. And because our rationale behind that is it's so hot, we don't want to kill the seeds. The reality is, if you wait until the end of August when it starts to cool off just a little bit, there towards the end of the month, you've missed your window of opportunity. So if you want to plant things like brassicas, which would be your Brussels sprouts, your broccoli, if you want to do kales, cauliflowers, radishes, things like that, now's the time to do it. So today we're going to continue on cleaning out the garden. We're going to pick up all these piles of weeds. We're going to take them up here to the compost pile and let them start to break down and make us some more dirt. So buckle up, follow along as I do the job that everybody hates, getting rid of weeds. One of the things you'll probably notice if you do this in your garden where you've got big piles of weeds or things where you've cleaned out your beds, you're going to notice that when they start to break down, they stink. There's a reasoning for that. It's because this is all organic material. It was alive and now it's dead. And that's going to give off a decomposing smell. But it's also a reminder that you can use all of these things to make your own fertilizer. If you have a barrel or a bucket that you put these in, cover them with water, put a lid on it, let it sit for 3, 4, 6 weeks. At the end of that time, strain out the solids, and the liquid that you're left over with can be used as an amazing fertilizer. I was trying to be clean and use the pitchfork, but I'm gonna have to use my hands. So, that's just one pile. Just one. It doesn't take long to make a mess, that's for sure. Don't let weeds discourage you. This is common. This is normal. It's gonna happen. Don't trust anybody that tells you they can teach you to grow a garden with no weeds, no grass, nothing like. It's not gonna happen. If you buy a weed barrier, it just means that you're gonna have weeds that grow on top of it. Because what happens, there's a seed bank in the earth. And anytime you do any digging, you're bringing up new seeds. Let's say you put down weed barrier, and then you put your own soil on top, or you just put mulch on top. When the windstorms start up, when the thunderstorms start up, and the trees are blowing, and everything's moving, little seeds are gonna embed themselves on top of that weed barrier, and you're gonna grow weeds. It's gonna happen. Here's a life lesson for you. Regardless of what you do, it's gonna require maintenance, and your garden's no different. We're still kicking. The piles are getting smaller as we go. Most of it was down that way. I may not be able to get it all in one trip. I believe that's all I'm gonna be able to do. I got a few more piles. Let's keep going. So, I'd like to tell you guys a story if you don't mind. You're watching me out here pick up all these weeds and piles of grass and things that need to be removed. So, keep in mind, there's a life lesson here. Everything in life requires effort, regardless of what you're doing. Everybody's looking for an easy button. Hey, Mr. Sunflower. He's not going to stay. Everybody's looking for an easy button. And the reality is, you might be able to stumble upon an easy button from time to time and things go really well. But in the real world, in reality, everything requires effort, hard work, and you just keep going. You look at something like a garden and you see all the weeds and you think, well, I need to go clean out my rows. I need to clean out my walkways. And so you do that. And it might take an hour, might take two, might take several days. Never know. Could be bad. And then you spend all that effort and you're hot and you're sweaty and you're tired. And all you've done is pull them up. And everywhere you've been, you left big gaping holes in the dirt, scars that remind you that there used to be something there that's been removed. But that doesn't bring you to the end of the process, because you still need to gather all of the things that you've pulled out and you need to get rid of them. Because if you leave them here in the garden, some of them will die and others will take root again and they'll grow right where you plant them, or right where you leave them. And so if you don't finish the process, it's going to get worse. So the worst thing you can do is nothing. The next worst thing you can do is halfway. The best thing to do is to set aside a few minutes each day and deal with the things that are in the way, the things that are causing a problem. If what you're seeing isn't what you want to see, change it. You have the power to do that. So through the magic of time lapse and editing, we've spent a few minutes together and it went from a mess to now you can walk freely in and out. Now I want you to notice something. If you look straight down through this, what we call the tunnel of love, you're going to notice that there's still grass clumps that are growing in the walkway. Listen, one of the greatest joys of my life has been able to let go of perfection. I am the world's worst at thinking everything has to be perfect. I grew up thinking that like for a garden, if it didn't look like Martha Stewart's garden, then you did it wrong. And that wasn't because my parents taught me that. It's my own stuff. It's my own thing. We get in our own ways. We make things harder than they have to be. I make my garden harder than it has to be. And in the process, I end up making Amber's life more difficult than it has to be because I'm a perfectionist. Friends, I want you to hear something. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to work. And yes, if you're walking through and you see weeds, pull them up. Bend over. Spend 10 minutes just picking them up. You ain't going to get them all, but if you do that every day, eventually you'll get it cleared out. The worst thing you can do is nothing. The best thing you can do is get started.